What you just read about the attorney thing for us, I think that's probably why they allow themselves to put out so much information so you can just argue over it. That's what attorneys do.
But yeah, I think a lot of them know this simple fact that that's what everything is just attorney, and they have specific knowledge in how to use the case law to dupe people. Well, now we know better. And it's like I said earlier in the first session, I quit signing for a reason, folks. I don't need to, if I'm the beneficiary, then why am I required to sign? 19 CFR 149.3 verifies this. You're allowed to give a number in lieu of the name and address. So why are people consistently giving a name and address? Well, because they were taught in school. Here's how you write your name and address. But you got to hide that number. How come everybody in the government uses that number? I'm told to hide it. I'm supposed to use a name and address, but they, as importers and exporters, get to use the number in lieu of the name and address. Well, I never put your name and address down on that paper. Just his number.
I promise you, in my class, there's another section of in indoctrination camp, right? So the other teachers are teaching these students, and they're not even really teaching them, right? They're doing the same thing you do when you go out in the public. They just give you the paperwork and say fill it out. So they're not even teaching this kid how to.
Does that sound familiar, Malika? Does that sound like a student loan? Here, just fill it out.
Yeah, that's everything. That's everything, and we think that because they ask, it means it's required.
Yep.
But the numbers are not ours either. So whether you use your name, a number, none of this shit is yours. And what application are you filling out anyway? You gonna apply for something that's already yours, huh?
And every time a public trustee asks a beneficiary to give them information, it is an abusive trust tax evasion scheme. Form 14242. So, and it's important to comprehend this stuff. Again, like I said, we're not required to give any information, let alone a number.
Or name or address. If they ask for the information, data elements, it's what? What does that mean?
If they're asking for any kind of data elements from the beneficiary, it's an abusive trust tax evasion because the beneficiary is not required to do anything.
Abusive trust and tax evasion.
Yeah, Form 14242.
Oh, that's an actual thing.
Yeah, Form 14242, and read the language on there. It tells you it's an abusive trust tax evasion is what the form is for. And if we're operating in a public trust and they're asking us as beneficiaries to give them any information, it tells you on that form, we're not required to give them any information, period. And if they're asking for it, that's an abusive trust tax evasion. Why would you ask the beneficiary for tax information when you have it yourself as the trustee who is responsible for the taxes of that trust?
Well, I'm just trying to find out if you're also one of the agents that's liable to pay. Because sometimes some people are. Lots of people are simply because they wish to be. Okay. Yep. They act like they won the lotto because they have numbers and letters and all types of stuff to give these people.
And see, it says here, it says statements by masters of vessels and owners of cargoes before granting clearances. This is one of my favorites because I'm going to throw this right up in there. You know, the statements by masters of vessels and owners of their cargoes before granting clearance. Great, because I fear not, for I have been redeemed. He has called me by name. I am his vessel. I am his cargo. I am his. And he preserves my going out and my coming in from this time forth and even forevermore, because he knew me before I was formed in the belly, before I was cast from that womb and that birth certificate was created. He sanctified me. He ordained me a prophet unto the nations. So your conference of nationality through that birth registration as a United States national or as a U.S. national, given a United States citizenship, is false certification by my own statements in correlation with the biblical scripture. And nobody would be able to rebut it. By God, I think you're right.
Well,
By
I'm just doing
God,
my
I
job.
think you're right.
I'm just doing my job, sir. Even though I've never read the job description and I'm not actually doing my job. I'm just gonna tell you.
And that birth registration is the manifest of an original document to be incorporated later on. That's a false manifest. Yet it was cleared. Again, they assigned a newborn number, a number, Social Security number to a newborn child, manifesting a false record that is identified by the name and the number.
Somebody showed up and pledged this child. I didn't go confiscate them from anywhere.
By the way, I'm not accusing you of that. I'm saying it's a false manifest. In honor for the face.
It can't be false. Somebody came and declared these data elements.
Well, yeah, but the data elements have been entered wrong. They were entered in error. They weren't qualified.
Oh no, I had a
the person that entered them didn't take an oath. The person that entered them.
Hey, you don't have to take an oath to give us a foundling child.
Oh, but you got to take an oath to be an exporter.
Well,
So anyway,
I guess I don't qualify to be standing at this cash register with
exactly. That's why we just go past that checkout, right, Malika? Yeah, see, we just go past that checkout.
Yeah, right past.
8:30. Okay, so the next one, offenses, punishment, forfeitures of property. Now, you guys, again, we're talking about forfeitures that are operated through that marine insurance, inland marine insurance, and this is where the inland forfeitures go through the judicial courts of the Postal Service. That's why they hold the forfeiture laws through the postal system. And here we see the forfeiture laws in the military.
I gotta double check, make sure the postal board got my forfeiture letter from the attorney.
Yeah.
And when I reported him.
Because this is, as I said earlier, it's the Coast Guard and the Marines. And the Marines have jurisdiction inland through the post offices, which are submarine substations. And then each of those municipalities have their own armies. This is 50 U.S.
policy
code.
Officers?
Yep. Anyone carrying arms incorporated in and indentured into the Constitution and allowed to assert the Second Amendment.
I'm leaving Eddie out here with you.
Okay.
One Murphy.
The next one, rules by district courts and appeals. Remember the rules by the district courts. Got to be District of Columbia. Got to be District of Columbia. Otherwise, it's just territorial. And they have to have their own residency of the dual citizenship, which is insanity itself. So to sit there and claim that you have rights to enforce possessional use and control of any physical thing, including this man who happens to be a wild animal, I think goes against your wildlife and fish rules. You don't have a license to capture this guy.
The District Court of the United States are given jurisdiction to make and enter all such rules as to notice and otherwise, and all such orders and decrees, and to issue. Okay, Kevin's chat popped up in front of it. Okay, issues such process as may be necessary and proper in the premises to enforce the provisions of this chapter with a right of appeal from the final order or decree or of such court as provided in section 128 and 138 of the Act of March 3rd, 1911, entitled An Act to Codify, Revise, and Amend the Laws Relating to the Judiciary. Under Title 50, though? This is
Yeah.
so
Well,
weird. I guess they're talking about court martial. Because why else would you be under Title 50? You gotta be talking about the court martials.
Title 50 is wildlife and fisheries. Oh,
no.
wait a minute. Yeah. That's why I'm a wild animal, baby.
No. This is
Yep.
the beneficiaries. This is the Title 7 fisheries. Why? This is so weird.
This is Title 50, wildlife and fisheries, U.S. Code, but the CFR title doesn't match.
Okay.
Look at this.
So someone says, what do you mean by people get happy because they have all kinds of numbers? Oh, people are really proud to have government numbers and to act as government agents. That's why every time they're handed forms, they very happily fill out each and every block. And if they don't fill out each and every block, they feel shitty because they should have a thing to put in each and every block. They literally think that simply because they're being requested that it is their duty to perform and provide that information. So they want to put their name, they want to put their address, they also want to put a social security number, whether it's theirs or not. They want to put everything. They want to give everything.
And that Act of 1911, that's the Reorganization Act's amended.
Oh my God, I figured it was some next stupid stuff like that.
42, public health, judicial review. So now we see the judicial review being a martial law review now, because Article 10 of martial law says martial law chiefly affects the police and collection of revenue.
Right, because it's the executive branch period that they're martial lawing. I was actually talking with somebody about that today. He was like, "Oh, when martial law happens?" It's like, what the hell? What do you mean when?
It is.
That shit started in the 1700s. What are you talking about? And it's always in effect because they're always going to be marshals who need laws to follow.
And what is an MA organization? It's a medical association.
Oh my God.
And what's a CMS?
Hold on a second.
That's the Certified Medical Services. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Healthcare financing. They're still doing healthcare financing and trying to use those COVID vaccination cards, visas, to fund their stupid crap right now. That's why they're pushing it.
You get 2 free donuts now at Krispy Kreme.
Oh, 2 free donuts now, my daughter says at Krispy Kreme. 2, not 1 load of sugar, 2. Enrollee or provider on behalf of what? No, who gave the provider power of attorney?
Exactly. See, that's what happens.
But I guess if you're already enrolled in the military, you already gave a power of attorney for their agents to do stuff to you and on your behalf.
Well, see, what happened is they established the foundation of a corporation. And as we became an adult, we didn't make the decision of whether to incorporate by taking an oath to perform the functions of public office and operate within that commercial system, nor did we deny it and say, no, I'm not qualified because I'm just the beneficiary. We didn't do either thing. So the presumption rides that it's a corporation, but it's in fact operating without the corporate status, and therefore it's the enemy of the state. But we're not the ones doing it. The beneficiary isn't required to do anything, therefore can't be culpable if he does, and then later finds out that it was a mistake. The trustee is the one that's culpable because they're the ones that are supposed to know this.
True. I like how C says it. He says a party must file a civil action. People think that the civil action is the initiation of the original court, but it's just for review.
Right. We're just making
It's
the
for
judicial review.
review.
And this is what they don't understand is when we file a civil action, we're not filing a civil suit.
That's what people think they're doing. People
Right.
think that
We're
when
not
they
doing
file
that. We're
that,
asking for the civil action of the civil contractors required to their debt previously contracted to fulfill that contract. Quit putting it on us as if they were expected to have duties and obligations in that contract when we don't.
well, so who's supposed to be bringing the civil action in the civil court? The
We are.
MA or the CMS?
We are. Because
Well-
these guys won't recognize their fault in it. They're going to continue to say we're just doing our job.
Yeah, we know not to let them say that. Show me where in your job description it says you're supposed to do what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Then they like to go, I'm not arguing with you. Ain't nobody arguing. You said you following your job. Let's go look at it.
Okay. Title 28, Section 509 says functions of the Attorney General. All functions of other officers of the Department of Justice and all functions of agencies and employees of the Department of Justice are vested in the Attorney General. Except the functions vested by subchapter 2 of chapter 5 of Title 5 and administrative law judges, federal prison industry, the board of
Oh
directors
my
of the
God,
officers of federal
Inc.
prison,
Federal Prison Industry, Inc.
the board of directors and officers of federal prison, Inc. What was I thinking was so interesting about this?
The functions of the Attorney General.
Yeah, the functions themselves at the seat of the office, which is the position. So, like I said earlier, everybody's operating in the functions at the position as if though they're a person transferring property. Even when you go to court and you're filing these documents, you think you're going to have some kind of effect to have them give you something back. You're still operating in the functions and the position of attorney. Why? Mine, give me now. Executive Department, the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, and the Executive Department of the United States at the seat of government.
They're not even in the seat of government.
No, they're just at it, not in it.
I swear, man, this is retarded.
It's space, right?
Just a break from the craziness.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Whatever you
Interests
call it.
of United States in pending suits. Now, all of these cases, 93 of them, the interest of the United States will be in a pending suit if they do not want to negotiate my terms of reconciliation and repentance and forgiveness under 50 U.S.C. 4305 for full acquittance and discharge. If they do not want to do that, then there will a suit be pending in their case, in their courts, through the international
Please don't do that no more. Ray.
criminal courts.
Read my messages to some nigga.
Hey,
Just please.
Please don't put me in a situation.
I'm not. It don't matter
hey,
why.
hey,
Marvin.
hey, Marvin. Thank you. Interest of the United States in pending suits, and to comprehend people, the interest of the United States lies in every data element ever entered into their records, whether it be definitive paper form or transferred to electronic form. They have an interest in it because that is their record. that resides in the Library of Congress. If the states have records that are using identification, such as name and number, that pertain to that identify that record, and it puts out a bad name, it needs to be rectified. That's in the interest of the United States. So while there are 93 cases on and for the record in the state of Iowa, the name on that record is in all uppercase letters in the interest of the United States. That's making it look bad on the United States, not me.
So are you going to file a claim?
Oh, no, I'm going to Department of Homeland Security to have it all redressed.
Oh,
Yeah,
because they keep talking
You guys
about
are the ones that made the claim.
in the district, in the court.
so
District-
you guys are the ones that are making the claim. The state made a claim, and there's their claim, 93 cases. And they're trying to say that I owe them these many supposed doll hairs and stuff. I don't know anything about it, because when I call the Department of the Treasury offset program and give them that information, they tell me, no, there's no debt. So I'm not the one making the false claim. The state is. Get it? In the interest of the United States, who says there is no debt, the state has made a claim that there is.
Well, it's
I'll-
actually, George over there. George,
Yeah,
whatever.
see?
The state is silent, obviously, because they don't have any information to support what that agent is saying.
National Security Division. There is a National Security Division of the Department of Justice. And that's what that birth registration did. It made it straight to the Department of Justice as a matter of national security, so that every signature done in that name from now on connected to that number created a United States security instrument. And it was, how did I end up with two of them? That's right. Yep, because I reviewed it. So, supervision of litigation. Remember, you asked if I was going to make a claim?
Mm-hmm.
They've got suits pending. Those are only summary judgments. Right? So they're still pending. Fines haven't been paid, so they're still pending. So supervision of litigation of those cases that are still pending, except as otherwise authorized by law, the Attorney General shall supervise all litigation to which the United States, an agency or officer thereof, is a party, and shall direct all United States attorneys, assistant United States attorneys, and special attorneys appointed under Section 543 of this title in discharge of their respective duties. Congress shall lay and collect all duties and taxes, all taxes and duties. Now, if they're going to discharge their respective duties, they have to do so with Congress, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think that deserves recognition by Congress, which was the first step they were supposed to do, was give administrative notice for a judicial review.
What agency did you say you were filing with, Keith?
Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, why do I keep
Redress.
forgetting that?
Yeah, redress.
Why do I keep forgetting the Department? I'm about to hang with them on Wednesday.
Yeah, I thought she was holding on to my finger last week and stuff. And the next thing you know-
Okay, so when we looked at that one earlier, the United States Code about said it was repealed here and there and there and there, here and there, and we checked out that one code, it came up to 10 U.S. 8 or 10 U.S. Code 801.
Go back to that one about nobody being liable in court real quick.
Oh, 4305, 50 U.S.C. 4305.
Okay.
And no person shall be held liable in any court for or in respect to anything done or omitted in good faith in connection with the administration of or in pursuance of and in reliance on this subdivision or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder.
You gotta prove that good faith. Okay, that's USC.
And when we looked up that one code that was talking about repealed and this and that, and it told us that it was referring to 10 US Code 101 definitions. And then when we look up 10 US Code 801, it says Article 1 definitions. Article 1, because the judiciary reorganization under 1911 was a institution of the military code. It was the actual, just like the Uniform Commercial Code was actually being practiced. It wasn't actually instituted until 1952. The martial law was being practiced, but it wasn't instituted until 1911 in the reorganization of 1911. And here it says in this chapter, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the term Judge Advocate General means severally the Judge Advocates General of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and except when the Coast Guard is operating as a service in the Navy, an official designated to serve as Judge Advocate General of the Coast Guard by the Secretary of Homeland Security. Coming back down? You hanging out?
For a second, I gotta go eat. But I need to.
So anyway, the board is open. I'm done. Like I said, I will post all of these links. And I think what I'll do is I'll just make another regular post, and then I'll post the Zooms in the comments or something. I don't know how I'll do it yet, but I will have all these links in here so people can follow up on these. But these are basic. The Navy, the Marine, and Coast Guard, when it is operating as a service in the Navy, shall be considered as one armed force. That's who's enforcing all of the inland police enforcements. All of your municipal police agencies are enforced to the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. Or excuse me, the Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard.
What's her name? I was gonna say hi to her.
Malika.
Malika.
How'd you figure that out?
By the way, Malika, it's Keith's neighbor, Christian. Just wanted to say hi.
Excuse me. I don't know who asked that, but and I will find it again. It is listed in their codes. The Coast Guard is the arm of enforcement of all inland police enforcement.
This is yours.
All right. I don't know how much time we got left tonight, but I'm going to start copy pasting these links into the chat section. The board is open. Please help fill in the time with some discussion while I copy paste all this for everybody.
Who was that was saying hi? Keith's favorite Christian?
Yes,
Yeah.
Who's that?
my favorite Christian, my neighbor. His name's Christian.
Oh. Howdy ho, neighbor.
Go.
He's fascinated with our Zooms on Tuesdays and Thursdays because he realizes all the profound information coming out. But you know, he looks at it just like I do. Wow, that makes plain cotton picking sense.
Mm-hmm. That's the part they don't like.
Yeah, it's when people realize, and I assure you people, the only proof I can give you is my own experience, because that's my experience is to get them to remove this shit. I'm not one of the ones out there putting all the information on the record anymore. I know that was the problem.
I just ask them questions and they don't want to answer.
Yep.
Because they don't have answers.
You know, how did I become bound in Title 46 or 49 or like any of the shit? Yeah.
Yep.
They're like, oh, we're not going to answer that. Delete, 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 delete.
They're going to be deleting every residential address I ever had.
But no, I really want to know. I really want to know, guys. What makes me bound to come to your court on your invitation? It's almost like, well, don't worry about that. Just show up.
Yeah, like we're just doing our jobs. But if you don't let us do our job, we're going to call somebody, have them bring you here for us to do our job.
I can't tell you're doing your job because I haven't found any job description that says you can even talk to me without an emergency or if I'm in uniform.
Yep, got to be an emergency. That's one of those things about that emergency, operating under emergency. It's got to be an emergency. I mean, for heaven forbid, if you find some guy peacefully shooting duck on his land, you better leave him alone. He's got a gun.
It's an emergency. My salary is based on the amount of tickets I write. That's an emergency, Keith.
Yeah, it's an emergency. I got a quota. I got a quota.
Emergency.
I got to keep my family alive. I got a quota.
I'm going to rate your family.
Quota. Why don't you make that quota a couple ducks a week then? And maybe 6 fish and maybe a bear a year and maybe a couple deer in the spring and a couple deer in the fall. Then maybe you can survive. But no, that'd be too much common sense. That would be freely provided. No, I got to buy my shit. I got to buy my shit like everybody else.
I got to participate in interstate and foreign commerce.
Push it up to try and get people out, and then once the lodge comes up.
I got a question. Did anybody read the executive order on requiring coronavirus disease vaccinations for federal employees?
Yeah, it only applies to employees.
Not just all any employees, federal.
I was reading it, right? And Keith, you had me look at things a little bit different, especially when you talk about data, right? And they say in here about where they're getting their reasoning from. So it says, trying to figure out where.
All safety, nothing more, nothing less. That's why I keep telling you, it's an insurance scam for sure.
Wow, and it said right here, it says the FDA has determined that all 3 vaccines meet its rigorous standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality.
People like feeling important to the government, so they imagine themselves to be G.I. Joe, and then they try to conform. If people read the Constitution, they would know none of these mask mandates apply to anybody except the federal government employees, potentially, and they can object.
Yeah, they can object and amend to their own private use.
So I was thinking about that today, right, as I was going in the store, but I was thinking about how, or the conflict of it for me, because I utilize the social. Wouldn't that make me a federal employee?
Did you take an oath of office?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so how could you be federal?
Like I said, brother, it's all false. It's all been a presumption. Everybody's been presuming.
That's a real question. That's a real question. Answer the question.
I'm trying to.
How can you be a federal employee without an oath of office?
You can't. I never took an oath, so.
All right.
So in the beginning, if we was taking this approach from the beginning, I was thinking that things would have, and it's crazy we even have this tongue. I was thinking things would.
If we were teaching this in the driver education, if we were teaching this in the driver education classes, nobody be getting a driver's license.
Some people
at 18 years of age, how can you be qualified to be take an oath of office to be a public servant when you don't even know the first thing about public service? You haven't even been there yet.
I think I want to try it, Keith. So I'm gonna.
Okay, do it in training. Do it in training. You have to be a ride along.
Well, put it like this, right? I work within the system and I teach against. So when you talk about these driver's license, I tell my young students, don't get it. I even told my little brother everything. Don't get it. It's not to your benefit.
I attended an online car auction today to see if I can get our boys some old beater cars that they can start getting around in on their own. And there will be no driver's licensing and no registration of any of it. We're not even going to pretend that they might be oath takers.
So I was doing some research on that today, right? And I was looking at the MSO qualifications, if you want to call it. And I was looking at it and I was saying, well, if we're not to register our vehicles to these entities, I also saw where you can actually register things to yourself. But where my conflict is coming in at is with these numbers that you were talking about, right? How we, standing up and raising our hand and say, yeah, we're going to utilize these numbers because we want to be a part of the government. So I was thinking about how, you have your 9-8 numbers, you have your, or just to say your EIN numbers and things like that. You can actually
don't need any of that, do you, Malika?
None of those numbers are mine, and all of them are taxpayer identification. So I have no intent on paying taxes.
And that's why I asked you the question earlier, because that's what I heard. I couldn't, really make it out what you were saying.
It says Congress shall pay the debt. It says Congress shall lay and collect taxes and pay debt.
It also says
if I don't
that
plan
you
on
have the right to
participating on behalf of Congress, I still no one can answer the question of why it is that I need to pretend.
And it also says you have the right to petition the government for redress. So why do you need an EIN number when you can just redress it as private, none of your business, not accessible, unclassified?
But from that standpoint, how would you make a purchase from the dealership? Because that's
You
where
don't make a purchase, you do a transfer.
Autograph.
You don't make a purchase. You let them know that you're the beneficiary. You require the transfer to be made. They're the ones responsible for the transfer, not you. Why are you buying a car if you're the beneficiary and they're required to transfer it?
He used the word purchase because he doesn't know what purchase means.
Yeah, you're
well,
everybody's just so caught up in this thing about words and stuff that they don't comprehend that you really got to get back to the education, guys. Unlearn everything you've learned and go back and redo it.
I bought that little book you had, right? The little green book about concise English.
Yep.
And I didn't get into it just yet, right? But
well, you got to, brother.
Oh, I will. I can promise you that too. I was looking for the first edition of that book because I was reading a book and I noticed I was reading like the 10th edition. And I went back to like the second edition of this particular book. And I realized that the wording inside the book is totally different in the 10th edition as it is in the second edition. So that let me know that they're taking stuff out as they graduate these books up to these different editions. So I went to go look for that.
When it comes to the English, though, what they're doing is improving it. And that's the same with the code. They're still improving the U.S. code, the CFR and all that. But it's only coming because of people like myself and other researchers that are putting this information out there and getting redress. So then they have to go back and change their codes.
I saw that. I forgot who the guy named. He was an actor, and he was just talking about being a resident, non-resident alien or something like that. I forgot what his name was, but he was a famous actor, and he was speaking about when he goes into the court, he considers himself to be an idiot. And so when I started reading the code and I started looking at the definitions at the beginning of U.S. code, it shows now that they have in there that you can't, like this code goes for idiots also.
Okay, it's going to shut down, guys. Everybody have a
One
great night.
USC one.
I'll post this. Yep, one USC one. I'll post as soon as
Yeah,
possible, guys.
everybody-